What's up, guys? Welcome back to Unqualified Critics. As you can imagine, and maybe you've already seen it, there was a lot of news that came out of the 1UP Weekly where they interviewed John D and some other guys from Arcade1up. There's subtext to this video that, well, there's some outrage from the community pointed at John D. Some of it I do think is warranted. There were a lot of posts on Reddit and Facebook, and you can certainly look for yourself. There are even people calling for John D to be taken out of the company. They feel disrespected. I think some people from the community feel like they're being taken for granted. And I think that's maybe a little bit of an issue with the home arcade space in general, a little bit of a hot girl at the dance syndrome where maybe somebody's really nice, but after 29 guys ask her to be their girlfriend, they change their tune a little bit. The dismissiveness I've seen Arcade1up exhibit in some of these interviews that a lot of you are mad about, I've seen elsewhere behind the scenes that you guys don't see because some of the other arcade companies aren't as publicly visible. And that's just the truth. And I'm not going to call anyone out specifically because, who cares really for you guys? I mean, you guys are the audience, you guys are the buyers. You probably don't care too much about that kind of thing. You care about getting product being good. I'm only telling you this to tell you that John is easy to attack because he's really visible, but some of these other companies are a lot less visible. And it's not everybody. You've got Jong, the founder of iArcade, who is quite visible, but even with him, he's not going on these 2 hour long shows with people interviewing him who aren't his employees and just doing kind of freeform stuff. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm just saying John's style lent itself easily to being criticized. He's kind of boisterous. He's kind of brash. Does he overstep sometimes? Yeah, I do think he does. Does he misdirect sometimes? Maybe. But I think some of that is also because the market is a moving target. Trying to lock down these licenses is a moving thing. And I think, honestly, one of his biggest issues, he just comes out too early with some stuff when it's not finalized yet. And that just can lead to really big time disappointment. But also feeling misled because, hey, I thought we were going to do NFL Blitz. Why are you doing a Super Bowl show and there's no NFL Blitz? I mean, that was goofy. I think that was a huge mistake. And there's the HyloStick stuff, too, separate from that. That people are mad about. And I'll tell you from the 1UP Weekly show with John, he brought it up, and I'm glad he brought it up, and I give him credit for that. He wasn't pushed for it. He just kind of came out and said it. It does sound like he put in a call to someone. He said he put in a call, and that then it got shut down. Now, it doesn't mean he shut it down, but that does mean he probably was the reason it got shut down when it did. And his point was piracy is playing outside the bounds of the businesses they've established. Companies like Arcade1up, companies like iArcade, they spend a lot of money on these licenses. So I can understand being mad when somebody's kind of backdooring in some games unofficially. But I would argue the HyloStickX thing was very much a niche enthusiast thing. I'd be shocked if the existence of HyloX in any way impacted Arcade1up sales. I don't really believe that it would. I'm not in this business. I don't know that for a fact. That's just my 2 cents, guys. But anyway, let's go through the news that seemed to come out of this 1UP Weekly show, and we'll get you on your way. And by the way, happy Saturday. And if you enjoy the video, do hit that like button because it means so much. It is so helpful when you guys hit that like button because it means getting more exposure for this content, keeps the channel growing. All right, so first thing was that production for everything is on hold for a few weeks because of Chinese New Year. So if it hasn't landed at port recently, it's going to be a little while. So for those of you who haven't got your orders in yet on Attack from Mars, you're going to be waiting a little while, which is unfortunate. Next up, the pizza thing. Pizza Hut had a Super Bowl commercial with Miss Pac-Man. And it had a Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet and some guy from The Office. I thought this was extremely confusing because I thought this was going to be an Arcade1up mashup, but it wasn't an Arcade1up cabinet. It was just a regular Miss Pac-Man cocktail. I mean, it looked like actually real hardware, maybe kind of miniaturized, but it looked like real original hardware. So I thought this must be a mistake. Arcade1up wasn't involved. Well, John confirmed this was a collaboration and that the entire collaboration between Arcade1up and Pizza Hut will be revealed soon. He also said that this Pizza Hut commercial had product news in it. The only thing that should mean in a sane world is that we're going to get an ultra authentic Miss Pac-Man cocktail cabinet. Does that mean a commercial grade one that's going to be actually just available to Pizza Hut stores, their franchises, to have them in the store, and Arcade1up does the manufacturing, but they're actually heavyweight? I don't know. I'm really just speculating, guys. I'm really confused on this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope it means a real deal Miss Pac-Man cocktail from Arcade1up, but I also just bought one that I like a lot, and so I'd have to sell that and get this new one, which is kind of frustrating, but we'll see. Last thing I'll say on this, Pizza Hut does have a design that they've come up with for a custom Miss Pac-Man Pizza Hut arcade machine from Arcade1up. It looks kind of stupid, and I would submit to you that Pizza Hut knows this looks stupid because there's a reason they didn't include it in the commercial. What they include in the commercial, real looking hardware. That's what everybody wants. If you know it's what everybody wants enough to put it in a Super Bowl commercial, then let's just skip the cheesy product skins and get to the real darn product. All right, moving on. The Countercade launch from Steve Aoki, it ruffled a lot of feathers for a lot of reasons, but I think mainly because they're only making 30 of them and there was no news about anything else Countercade. In the other context was there was supposed to be a big announcement that day and people were let down that, well, geez, is this the big announcement? This was really poorly handled PR, guys. It just was. But we know now that the Countercades are coming for more production for 2-player control panel, a lit marquee, and a headphone jack. So they're taking the Countercades seriously. I felt like to date the Countercades they've done looked too chintzy, wasn't interested for 100, 150, 200 bucks, partly because I don't have a good place to put it in my house. But even if I did, even if I had a bar at home, I would not be buying that. I would be buying like an iArcade, just the tabletop to put there, or some other custom build product. I would be looking right past the Countercades. But they're starting to look better, and the light up marquee inclusion is great, so that you're going to see more Countercade titles with this new format. It's not just the Steve Aoki deal. They should have come out and said that right when they announced Steve Aoki, or right after Steve Aoki announced it himself, whatever. They didn't, but at least the product is going to be coming. Turns out the big announcement on February 11th was the beta testers program, and that's, it is what it is. Here's what I think. It sounds to me like they're not going to give you free cabinets even if you're chosen to be in this product and you're going to be testing. So you're instead going to be buying your product yourself at full retail price and installing test patches. I think that that's lame. I think if you get selected for this program, you ought to get a free cabinet to test on. That's just my 2 cents, whatever. If you're interested in that program, it's been publicized elsewhere how you can join it. I think you just go on their website or Instagram, or I don't even know. Because again, I think it'd be a lot more exciting if they were giving out a free cabinet to the select few people that are chosen. But as a consumer of Arcade1up, I am excited to see them invest more into beta testing. All right, couple quick items to get through. Candy cabs. John D was asked about this by I think one of the viewers in the 1UP Weekly. He did show quite a bit of interest in it, more than I would have expected, but he said nothing concrete, but we're probably going to get there at some point. So expect a candy cab at some point in the distant future. A viewer asked if the speed setting could be changed in the Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet to speed setting 2 to apparently, and I can't fact check this, but apparently better mimic the original or match the original arcade hardware. Justin said, well, it's currently set to the speed of the online tournament community and where they play. So he did say it'd be likely they could do a patch that would give you the option to select different speed settings, which is needed because some people will care about the online tournament stuff, yes. But I think more of the Arcade1up buyers are interested in emulating the original, and that's where they want to get to. Scan lines. Can we get scan lines on everything going forward? Well, John pulled back the curtain a little bit and explained why we don't. And the answer is pretty obvious. Some of the partners they use to do the emulation for some of the arcade cabs can do great scan lines like Code Mystics, and others can't, so they leave them out. This is a disadvantage of their strategy to work with partners on emulation. If they'd hire these people, bring them in-house, build up their own talent pool, we would see more consistency across Arcade1up products. In the long run, I think that's probably what they ought to do. But that's just my 2 cents. Arcade1up tournaments, they're going to consider it. I'm surprised they're just considering it. Between hiring Justin Wong, between building out online infrastructure for tournament-friendly games like Marvel vs. Capcom, I think they needed to do it. I think they probably will do it eventually. Next up, it turns out retailers actually are the problem when it comes to getting the cabinets built that we want and why we get so many umpteen trillion variants of Pac-Man, but we can't get some of these other games we want. Well, retailers are looking at games that people know. John was really clear about this, or actually not even John. It was another gentleman who was on the show, Jason Mattern, and he said that the constraint is having a game people get excited about. Everybody remember Golden Axe, awesome game, well known, has the Sega name attached to it. Retailers initially wouldn't pick it up. That's garbage. This is a reason why Arcade1up needs to build out their e-commerce better. When I go to their e-commerce site and I click on Attack from Mars, I see no indication that they will ever sell Attack from Mars directly. And yet, when asked, John said, yes, we will be selling Attack from Mars directly from Arcade1up. That site needs built out better, it needs updated more, and more importantly than anything, it needs actual inventory behind it so they can control their own destiny a little bit. Let Walmart sell 18 billion versions of Pac-Man, which apparently there is another version coming soon that is a whole new form factor. I don't know if that involves a projector, because projectors were talked about. They said something about more realistic 3D molded marquee. I'm not sure where the joking was or what was real. Maybe it's the Pizza Hut super realistic Miss Pac-Man, which I would really like to see. I don't know. Next up, there are still unannounced bonus games to be revealed on the Killer Instinct cabinet. Fantastic news. On the Dragon's Lair phone, I was so glad they were asked about this. People don't want to have to take their phone and put it up on the board. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The Dragon's Lair cabinet is about our key. The Dragon's Lair cabinet is about art and about looking good in a game room, and having an empty slot for your phone when you're not playing it isn't that. It will have space for a second screen. It could be a screen you install, an 8-inch screen apparently is what it will be designed toward. That's at least what it sounded like. Or you plug in your phone into a holder. Or, most importantly, they are currently looking at a Pro Series that comes with its own built-in screen, which would be amazing. Beyond that, Arcade1up is developing a board with an HDMI out, which will of course support streaming, although that's something you could do now if you buy the LVDS to HDMI board from Geekworm, available on Amazon. I'll put a link below. They're also working on adding USB ports. I think these are both long overdue. I'm glad to hear we're going to get there. Next is some bad news. We don't have the rights. Arcade1up does not have the rights currently for Simpsons, NFL Blitz, or Smash TV. We're trying to be as transparent as possible, but we don't have it. I give some credit for them saying that. It'd be easy to not say that. And I think that's where the community gets mad, because John hints at NFL Blitz, John hints at Simpsons, but they don't really have it yet. A little bit of a chicken and egg. You've got to build the hype to get the license in some cases, I think. But with NFL Blitz, when you're hinting at Blitz and then you do a Super Bowl show and you don't have Blitz, man, that's not a good move. They did suggest they're working on a 6-player X-Men with custom artwork from a famous comic artist, which would be amazing. But of course, 6-player Pac-Man used 2 monitors for an old school ultra wide layout. Well, John said screen prices have apparently skyrocketed recently, and they're even struggling with their current price points with 17-inch screens. Screens have gone up 50% in cost, which is terrible for all of us who buy anything with displays, and especially if you're buying Arcade1ups, because every time you do that, you're buying a screen, which has gone up in price. Apparently, it's some trade dispute between China and Korea. I don't know much about it. Hopefully, it's resolved soon, and monitors come back down to earth. All right, on the HyloStick piece, King of Fighters was originally listed as an Arcade1up product. It was going to have 3 King of Fighters games on it. It was going to be an SNK Big Red style arcade cabinet, but it just looked like a regular Arcade1up. Well, here's the thing with that. The public was never supposed to see that. The public did see it. It leaked, and SNK lost trust. John D recounted that story. I've heard that story behind the scenes from other people, so I believe it is accurate. But also, he said part of the reason they lost out was because the other guys, Unico, who came out with the MVSX, were going to do 50 titles in one cab. So he brought all that up to say, here's the background. We think it's a good product, but they overstepped their bounds with HyloStickX. So whatever, I'll leave that as it is. But coming out of that was news that the mini HDMI consoles from Arcade1up are basically done and buried. And I'm so glad to see that. Those things looked like trash, and that they're just a cheap little throwaway item. That's a far cry from building arcade gaming and bringing arcade gaming back in the home. So I'm glad the HDMI consoles are done. And I think he brought them up here because there is some hypocrisy in play in all of this. You could sideload your own ROMs into the HDMI console as well. With HyloStickX, you were able to do that with the MVSX, but apparently Arcade1up didn't intend for that. However, at the end of the day, they approved the product. They approved the instruction manual. Yes, I know they turn these things over to other shops in China to build this stuff, but they did approve it, and there is some hypocrisy there. Couple other items. They are improving their joysticks and buttons going forward. Jason from Arcade1up is working on this now. That is fantastic news. I'm very glad to hear that. They're working on Golden Tee Online, which they've confirmed before will have a bowling game. Not Silver Strike, but it'll have some other less demanding bowling game. Great news. Love to hear it. Street Fighter 2 Live, it is not coming soon, and they don't have the technology yet where they can have fluid online play of Street Fighter, but they think they'll get there at some point. Thanks so much for watching, guys. That was everything. Make sure you're subscribed for the #1 source of home arcade news and reviews, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, consider hitting that join button to support the channel, and thanks so much for watching.